ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Badbaby. And tonight we have part 2 with Robert Evans on Planet X. I apologize for a little bit of dead air for a few minutes. We had a technical problem with the guest calling in. And I am your host, Badbaby, and we are going to have Robert Evans part 2 tonight on Planet X. How are you this evening, Robert?
Yes, Badbaby. Sorry about that. My fault. I just had to get the number down correct. Anyway,
okay.
How's it going tonight?
Well, same crap, different day, I guess.
Well, I sent you a bunch of pictures that I've been taking since last Friday. Of my friends on Facebook have been sending in, and still showing this thing in our skies all around the planet.
Yes, I've been looking, and I've been looking at a lot of them that people are putting up in the groups, and I went back and I talked to a few different people that had been on the show about Planet X, and you get all these people that say, oh, it's going to happen in March, it's going to happen in February, it's going to happen in August, it's going to happen, and I've said it before, I felt it was going to happen in August, but not of this year, of next year. I was thinking that, because of, and not because of anything that I researched, just because of the position of the planet in reference to the sun and how we've been seeing it move. It's, as
right.
far as I'm concerned, it's not close enough to the sun to be this year.
Well, the Colburn was very clear about that. The ancient book from the Colburn. Let me drag it up real quick. It said that this thing would be hiding next to our sun, and our sun would be hiding it from our view until it was way too late. That's what has been showing up.
I heard the last month.
Right.
The last month before it does the pole shift, that's when we'll see it.
And that's probably a good possibility. I mean, what we're seeing in our skies that I've seen on the photographs, webcam images, showing it almost the size of our moon in our skies. Now, I know these things are either planets themselves, but I call them moons because they're orbiting around the Nibiru itself. These things they have to be affecting our weather. Because if we can see them and they're almost the size of our moon, if not larger, depending on which side of the planet is seeing it, that is affecting our weather, as far as I know. I'm no expert on the weather. I follow the Weather Channel every day looking for any type of possibility. Weather Channel accidentally showed the second, it was a blue moon up over Mount Rushmore with the carvings. And here was the second blue thing, and they couldn't figure out what it was. My connection, my contact says we're going to see it around June of this year. It's going to be fully in our skies. I could be wrong. I've been telling everyone time will tell, because we've seen 4 moons in our skies now. I sent you one of the pictures. It looks like a greenish picture of a thing sitting in the sky. The person used it looked like a lens from a welder's goggle. That's why you get that green color.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And you can see different pop marks, and a big pop mark on one side on that thing. That's been showing itself more and more.
But the thing is, these pictures that we're looking at right now, it doesn't even look as big as the sun, and this thing is supposed to be 5 times the size of Earth.
Well,
so don't you think that if it was closer to the sun, it would be a lot bigger in these pictures? That's why I'm thinking possibly that it won't be till next year.
Okay, well, we're mixing them up here. The planet Nibiru comes between Jupiter and Mars. It doesn't come in this close. Jupiter and Mars. Its moons are what we are seeing, what we have seen for thousands of years. The ancients either knew it or didn't know it, and they called it by various names: Wormwood, the Destroyer, a Doom Shape, and the whole, must be about almost 15 different names. We're not seeing the planet itself. We cannot see the planet itself. Otherwise, it would be like anywhere between 4 to 8 times the size of planet Earth. And if that's the case, we could see Jupiter. And we can't see Jupiter except for a little tiny dot up on our skies. So we're seeing this thing's moons. I'm fairly certain about that. And my contacts is always telling me, yes, that's what we're seeing is the moons. And the red moon, I've got photographs of 4 of them, probably a 5th with this new one. The red one has always been the nasty one. Ippor, a Egyptian scribe during the Exodus, that's nailed down finally to 1613 BC, because they just found an olive tree underneath the ash there on the ancient Greek island of Thera, now called Santorini. And they were able to date that tree to about 1613. Ippor describes volcanic ash falling all over Egypt. That was the only volcano in the area that was erupting. Ippor did the best description of this thing in the skies. He called it the reddish mass, the destroyer. And that Egyptians had long histories going back several times where it actually shown up at least twice before. So I don't know what, personally, I wish it wasn't even coming. I wish I wasn't even trying to research this thing. But this thing, yeah, NASA, for, they knew it was coming. The Anunnaki spoke with both Pope Pius XII and President Eisenhower in 1955. So they knew it's coming. Pope John Paul II warned about it in 1980. We sent this really fancy Israeli, the Vatican, U.S. space probe out to meet it in mid-1995. It took photographs of it, did whatever else, came back in less than a month. That's pretty fast travel. I'm sorry. And it was all downloaded to a secret Jesuit base up on a HARP facility up in Alaska. And one of the pictures I sent to you, I know you have it, the first infrared satellite, IRIS. It knew exactly where and when to look for Nibiru. It spotted it out beyond Pluto in 1983. Several of the scientists jumped the gun, and Today News talked to the news media. A couple of days later, NASA denied it and had it pulled. On that one photograph, you see this big red thing with the huge wings coming off on both sides. That's the IRIS satellite. Someone had actually copied that photograph and leaked it just recently. It says 2003 on it. Supposedly, the IRIS satellite died years ago because it ran out of the really cold stuff, nitrous, that cools the cameras. But that's very clearly Nibiru, and it says the date and says the name IRIS on the photograph. If this thing does show its face, which I'm told it will, because it's getting worse and worse, the chemtrails are not hiding this thing that much anymore. I got a nice photograph set this evening before my thing went dead, and here it is from an observatory looking straight up, and the planet is almost cloaked. You see this huge thing in the sky right above the observatory. That's what they've been, the cloaking is dropping because we're getting closer to it now. So I'm quite sure, I wish I could give you an exact date and time.
Yeah.
I can't. All I know is it's getting, at least I'm giving you photographs that we are seeing on web cameras, people from their videos, people with their own cameras. None of the other researchers are giving you photographs. From what I've heard, not one.
Oh, I've gotten some from John Bernardo.
Okay, good. Because I don't know what's going to happen. If I were to fall back on ancient records from before Noah's flood, which was 2,900 BC, with the Chinese Emperor Yao, it caused a pole shift. It caused the oceans to top the high mountains of China. That's the part that's in the movie 2012 near the end. Noah's flood was a pole shift. Ippoward described a pole shift during the Exodus 1613 BC. Very clearly, he said the earth turned over. That's what it felt like. He saw the stars going to different positions. The sun and the moon rose and set in different positions than they had the day before. The growing seasons were thrown completely out of whack. People were starving because they didn't know when to put the seed back in the ground. And now, all around the planet, there's massive seed vaults. Interesting.
Yeah.
And we also have the deep underground military bases, the DUMBs. The paper I sent you from Project Camelot details it very, very clearly in there on the 3 parts on there, that they were building all of the DUMBs in Norway to hold their elite. And they were just going to let everyone else die on the surface. In the movie...
I had read that China has gone into building underground trains that they're going to let their people get into and go, underground to protect them.
I'm quite sure that the Chinese government is not stupid. They have a huge population, and they would clearly like to have it go down quite a bit. I'm quite sure the United States is also thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Depopulation, sudden depopulation. It would take centuries, probably, for the population to get back up to anywhere near what we have now. That's why the Georgia Guidestones said on there, all 3 of these things in almost every language on the planet, never let the population go above 500 million again. Very clear.
Yeah. Yeah, and
now,
did you know that Obama had to go visit he went and visited the Guidestones, I think it was about 6-8 months ago. He had his
I never heard that.
Oh, yeah, he had his helicopter fly him in, and he wanted to see the Guidestones because it was on his bucket list. And he had this big grin on his face as he was walking around reading them.
I've never even heard that. Interesting. If it's on his bucket list, that means that this is almost one of the last things that he will see before everything gets reset. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's video of him on YouTube visiting.
Okay, I'll have to dig that up. They've been planning on this for years. Okay, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I looked on YouTube. On Google, and I found the pictures of the Max CarMax 3-layer train cars. Actually, it's 2 layers now, where they normally would be 3 layers, with the nice perforated pieces around the sides where the windows would be, or the opening spots would be, clearly meant to hold cattle or something. I started digging that stuff up during this last week. That way I could reanoint myself. Because I remember when these articles came out over the years. This agency buying up massive amounts of ammunition, this agency doing the same thing, this one doing the same thing. All the U.S. government agencies have been planning on this.
I got a new one about buying up
Sure.
ammo.
Okay.
Mr. Obama has bought up a lot of the ammo plants, and people are reporting that they're getting faulty ammunition.
Well.
And you don't know it's faulty until you fire it. So
that's right.
Is there skullduggery going on there? It makes you wonder. But there was a
warning. It does. Because
on one of the groups that they were warning people to be careful, try to find out where your ammo is coming from.
Right. See, because when and when this thing does happen, everyone's going to be trying to prepare themselves for what I think is going to happen. You're going to have gangs roving everywhere, taking anything they want, just like they did during that nasty hurricane that came in on the Gulf, Katrina. You're going to have gangs roving what's left, and people are going to have to defend themselves. And then at some point, the elite will try to come up out of their deep underground military bases and try, hey, we're back. And then they'll have to make everyone bow down. So the people will have to defend themselves then again. I'm sorry. All this stuff doesn't take too much to, point where the finger's pointing. All the dreams, all the nightmares I heard before Obama became president, before he even became a senator. They all talked about a massive wave. They all talked about the people were hiding from the black helicopters. They were all talking about FEMA camps, a black U.S. president, which wasn't even on the news then, and then a new flag over the United States. Okay? Dreams, prophecies, they go hand in hand. Number of the dreams from several hundred years ago all came to an end right around June 13th, June of 2013, when none of them had happened. Not one. There was a remote viewer, Dr. I forgot his name right now. He's probably going to kill me. Yes, where he had a remote viewing test from 2008 to 2013, June 1st. And they saw massive asteroid strikes in all the world's oceans, tremendous waves going out in every direction, and they smelled rotted vegetation. They saw everyone running away from the coast. All that should have happened before or at June of 2013. Now, he was very clear that was probably just one timeline out of many.
One of the things he did say in that interview was that he didn't see a 2017 election.
Okay.
George Norrie asked him, Well, who did you, in your remote viewing, who do you see winning the election? He said, I don't. He said, I don't even see an election happening. He said the kill shot comes before it.
And that's 2017, you said?
Yes, the election's in 2017.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I went on another radio show, and for the first time in my life that I know of, I was hypnotized. I offered myself. My friend Eric has seen me showing him this very information about these ships coming into our solar system that NASA knows about. They're seen on every one of our satellites, at least that we know of. SOHO, stereo ahead, stereo behind. The U.S. Navy's SETCHI, which they have a camera on, stereo ahead, stereo behind, showing these ships coming in and leaving our solar system. They've caught them blasting things in the sky with massive beams of energy. And these ships, they're about the size of our planet, a good estimation. They see them coming out of warp or subspace or hyperdrive, whatever term you want to use, where they just go, and here's a bright flash, and phew, there they are, caught, quickly decelerating, just like the Enterprise. So they're here. They're watching us. They want gold. The Anunnaki came here for gold in the first place years ago. Why should they leave? You know, if their technology then wouldn't eliminate the gold to save them, why would it end it now? Because they have a huge technology. Zachariah Sitchin's book, The Lost Book of Enki, clearly they were using a laser-type weapon to kill snakes when they first got here. If Zachariah Sitchin was that much of a liar, a cheat, a fake, he would have been branded like that years ago, but he never was. So there must have been something really, really true in every book he wrote. Now, I do know that before he died in 2010, he did several things with the Vatican. What? I don't know. I've seen it on several videos where it was strongly hinted that he kind of back off a little bit because the Vatican also knows this stuff. They've known it since 1954. There's no way around this stuff. In 1954, Eisenhower, with the Bishop McIntyre from Los Angeles, met with the 3 alien races. Eisenhower signed one or more treaties with one or more of them, which allowed them to come down, abduct people, make tests on them, bring them back, and then do the weird autopsies on the animals that we've seen over the years. The Anunnaki in 1955 warned Eisenhower he could not trust those other races. It was already too late. He'd already done it. So there's been too many warnings that this is going to be coming up real soon. Ancient history says that we're on the wrong side of the solar system and we get a nice pole shift. It's been in the movies.
With this coming at us, we are already feeling, the planet is already feeling the effects, correct?
I think so. The volcanic activity is going right through the roof. They keep it quiet. The earthquakes. The video that
I posted where that ship was it was out in the ocean, and they saw this. They thought it was like a floating sandbar.
Yeah.
Did you see that video?
I looked at it. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, and then they got up to it and they were like, what the heck is this? And then they decided they better get out of it because they were riding their boat through it. And when they got out of it and got away from it, it went off. It was an underground volcano, or it was an underwater volcano that was coming to the surface.
Yeah, I think those underwater volcanoes are all part of the El Nino type thing. If the volcanoes on dry land are cooking up now, I see no reason why the volcanoes underwater shouldn't be cooking up also.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have the ice, but they do have all that pressure of the water forcing down on them. So maybe we're also seeing huge amounts of sinkholes all around the planet.
Yeah.
You know, there was that real, I think it was over in Germany, that recent one. It was just a huge frickin' hole.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't, they hear about one or two in the United States and they think, oh, well, those are common, blah, blah, blah. But if you research them, there are hundreds and thousands of them around the planet in the last few years that have opened up.
And it kind of makes you wonder why. Is it because of these moons or planets that orbit around Nibiru? I mean, the world, it's been a BS plant with the news media about global warming. Marshall Masters was the best one on this stuff. He followed when the planet Pluto, which is not a planet anymore, I think it's a dwarf. Planet Pluto, its atmosphere was warming up from something, causing methane to go into the atmosphere. Then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. That's the solar system warming. One of my friends, and he seems to find the best pictures on this, just before sunrise, you see this gigantic, just gigantic light on the horizon, far larger than our sun gives off, because that's usually just before sunrise, and then the sun rises and it slowly goes down. A lot of people don't realize that we have a brown dwarf star that orbits around our solar system. This brown dwarf star has 7 planets. Well, actually 6 planets, 1 dwarf planet called Sedna, Sedna. Now, several years ago, there was a nice video called Nemesis, our sun's evil twin. And the scientist that was involved says that he's found that there's a mass extinction, I think it's every 26 million years, where the brown dwarf, he doesn't mention brown dwarf, where something causes a mass extinction here on the Earth. That would only mean that the brown dwarf comes in a little bit too close, and Nibiru's moons go in a little bit closer. Now, I wasn't here for the last mass extinction, neither was my mother-in-law. Sorry about that. So I don't know what happened. All I know is what we're seeing in our skies right now. We're seeing things that has not been seen by any human for over 3,600 years. That's why everyone's freaking out.
Yeah.
At least I'm seeing them freak out. The people that I see on Facebook every day. And I have to admit, when these photos show up and here's a new moon that's not ours, or I see that big red one getting slightly larger, I almost want to freak out. Seriously, I do. This is stuff I've never seen. I went through the basic schools here in San Francisco. We're not supposed to have that. I know from reading through history, this thing showed up way back when. Is it coming right now? I've got the photographs from NASA saying that they saw it 2007, 2008. The photo from the silo. That was the secret Israeli, the Vatican, U.S. space probe. A very top secret thing. It took photographs of the planet, came back, and that was all leaked in early 2000, showing this massive planet. That goes between Jupiter and Mars. I thought we would never see it. We probably never will see the planet Nibiru. We're seeing these moons in our skies. Not every single day. Depends upon how much of the cloaking device being created by the chemtrails. And I think possibly the Anunnaki are on our elite side to not let us freak out. Because they don't want everything to go completely out down the river without the handbasket. Okay? It's not time. Not time for them to get underground fast enough. But we're just starting to see it since 2015. April 10th, 2015, the first striped moon of Nibiru was seen in the skies over Antarctica, the New Meyer Station. And then it was seen over South Carolina in color. And from then, it's been seen around the planet. Now, why aren't these other people who see this thing trying to write in? I've been told by many they tried. The news media either just refuses to even talk to them or won't even publish their stuff.
Nope.
I've got people from Facebook saying, I've been following this for months. Well, welcome on board. Welcome, friend. And another person that just got on recently joined my group of friends, and she sent me some of the photographs she had from Germany. And I'm still looking at the photographs through my web camera. Most of the web cameras have either been turned off or has been angled downwards, so not looking at the sun anymore, or can't see the sun anymore.
Australia's turning theirs off.
Yes. I had some nice photographs down from Australia of the thing up in their skies. Yep. You know, everyone's starting to see it now because we're orbiting right towards it. This thing comes through our system clockwise at an angle, a downward angle, about 35 to 40 degrees, went around the sun and it's going back out. We're orbiting counterclockwise. That's why the moons are getting larger and larger in our skies. Now, Ippelwer said in his account that we had been struck twice before. He doesn't describe exactly what he meant by being struck. You know, why couldn't they give dates and times? Jesus. I mean, it's hard enough to nail down ancient Egyptian pharaohs' dates when they were first inaugurated and when they died. He's supposedly right there about 1550. The island of Thera exploded about 1613. And hardly any of the shows physically talk about what the next pharaoh did. His name was Ahmose, Ahmose, which unfortunately in Hebrew means brother of Moses. So no one's talking about what he did during his time as pharaoh. We all talk about Akhenaten, which was also part of the 18th Egyptian dynasty. Now, since the destroyer was seen in their skies, moons before, when Akhmos became pharaoh, there's a good chance probably he was an Anunnaki. Have no idea. On the island of Malta, they have the underground thing. Can't remember its name right now off the bat.
There are a lot of underground cities that they've discovered that were abandoned, that were there from a long time ago.
Over in Turkey, yes. I think they found two. One is...
in Germany, too.
I never heard about the German one. I've only heard about the ones in Turkey.
On the History Channel, the ones in Germany.
Okay. Well, people had to get underground for whatever reason, either because there was ice on top, which doesn't make any sense because they still had to have air coming down, so it couldn't have been ice. They were probably hiding from something or someone, and that's probably a good reason because they were completely, and they go down layers, like 5 or 6 levels going down, and they're carved, man, it just fantastically. And they have these rolling stones that can only be rolled back from the other side, not the side from someone trying to get in. Too much of our ancient history has been destroyed by the conquerors or by religion. A lot of the ancient history wound up in the Holy Bible, in the Quran. I don't know about the other stuff, the Jewish, the Kabbalah. And it's all in, everyone has ignored it because it was put into the religion. The Holy Bible only goes back 2,000 years. The Sumerians go back another 4,000 years before, making it something like 6,000 years old. And all the ancient stuff was only dug up because of the Pharaoh after the Exodus. He demanded to know how the god of the slaves was more powerful than all of Egypt's magic. And when he found it, he put it all in what was used to be called the labyrinth. 2 layers below ground, 1 layer on top. Solon, the ancient Greek historian, he went there and talked to the ancient Egyptian priests. He actually went into the labyrinth, and he was virtually floored by what he found in there. The ancient history, it went back centuries. So, and bits and pieces of this have all come into, here's another name for it, it's called doom shape. I think I did mention it. Here's the part, trying to find where it's at here. Let's see. The glow of the destroyer was, the earth was filled with redness. That part there. Trying to dig this up real fast. Let's see, back up a little bit. So, it talks about in the Bible, I think it's the 7 seals, or no, it's when the horns are blown, where this huge mountain will come flying out of the sky, land in the ocean, and it's called wormwood. And then, anyone with today's knowledge, here's another good one. I know a lot of you people, your listeners, they've probably all heard about Mother Shipton. And she's always been made like a complete laughter. She was no laughter, I'm sorry. She was the only one of the ancients who talked about men hiding underground when this thing came back.
Yeah. Well, there are quite a few of Mother Shipton's prophecies that she prophesied that came true. And one of the most mysterious ones was when she talked about the Russian men being underwater and no one could understand it. And then it came up back years later when that Russian submarine was trapped
Mm-hmm.
underwater with all those men that drowned in that sub. Remember that?
Yes.
That was one
big
of her victims.
Yeah, that big fancy one, yeah.
Yeah.
It was firing some kind of a missile or something. For those
you know
who
how
live
Mother
in the
Tipton became blind?
I've heard different things. I don't know.
As a child, she was swept away in a tornado.
Mm.
Survived it, but she had things went into her eyes, sand and dirt, and it blinded her.
Okay. And she
And
did
after
the prophecies.
that happened to her, she started having the ability to prophesy.
Yeah. So here's her part right here. For those who live the century through, in fear and trembling this shall do. Flee to the mountains and the dens, to bog and forest and wild fens. And she goes on to a fiery dragon. That's a comet, or something that looks like a comet. She's talking about wormwood, but she doesn't call it wormwood. Because she mentioned he blows this wondrous horn, and over in Egypt they heard the sound of 10,000 horns blowing, and some people around the planet right now say they're hearing weird sounds in the air.
Yes. And it's happening in all different places, and people are videoing it. I've been looking at a lot of those videos, and some places it doesn't sound exactly like a horn. It actually, the last one I listened to, it sounded like someone was taking two like metal beams and screeching them together. And the first question I got about that was, that's not a horn. That's the tectonic plates that are rubbing against each other.
That's possibly a good indication, yes. Because, you know, these moons or planets, they must have mass. And depending upon how much mass they have, it puts into a huge gravitational electromagnetic pull. And one of these, possibly the red one, because we're only seeing one red one out of the four ones we've seen, that matches the red kachina from the Hopi people here in the United States, wormwood from the Holy Bible, and the destroyer from the ancient Egyptian a scribe named Ippur. You know, so you know, we're seeing this stuff. We're hopefully enough of us will be able to keep this record so we know exactly what the heck this thing was and is. Because we have a front row seat coming down on us right now. I'm sorry.
Don't you think, Bob, that we have a little bit more of an advantage of the past times that came through because of the technology and the awareness of the people? I mean, way back when it came through in Noah's time, people didn't really have the internet or the awareness or, you know, or the technology or the ability for survival.
Exactly. And Noah's time was like 12,900 something years ago. Ippur was 3,600 something years ago. So yeah, the aliens.
One that really bothers me is the fact that when we get peppered by asteroids, that these, you know, I mean, there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be no electricity, and there's going to be nuclear meltdowns. So if you do survive it, you're going to have the ability to survive radiation.
I would like to think that the ETs, which are helping us right now, there's no way around that. They have intervened. Now, what side they're going to be on, whom they're going to help, time will tell. I would like to think that they will have the technology to clean the earth. Otherwise, humankind wouldn't survive, would not go on to the next level, which is what they want us to do. Their ships have been blasting asteroids, whatever, since early 2000. These ships have been caught by NASA with the two of the SOHO satellites cameras, where they emit a huge beam. Sometimes they're hitting 3 or 4 or fired at 3 or 4 things at one time. We haven't had any.
Jose Rodriguez, the fact that he was taken up in an alien ship. Are you familiar with that guy's story?
I've heard about him, but yeah.
Yeah, he was taking pictures at a club, a nightclub for his friend, and he had his sister's camera or her relative's camera or something, and he was on his way home from the club, and that's when he saw these alien crafts, and he said they actually picked his car up. And he said the next thing he knew, he was in this room with several other people, and they all seemed very confused, and that this man came in. He was dressed in all black, very straight, neat hair, and he explained to them what was going to happen. And he showed them he said like on a big screen, big flat screen. He showed them what was going to happen, and he showed them that an asteroid was cast down into the ocean, and that there were tsunamis not only against the one coast but around the world. And
right.
What else did he say that was going to happen? But he basically showed them what was going to happen, and then when they were taken back, he said he just remembered his car kind of like hit the ground, and he kind of came to, and then he saw U.S. Air Force jetliners chasing the UFO. He took pictures of it. Those pictures are up on the internet.
Sure. Well, yeah, the ET's been helping us. I know I sent you a picture.
They took him and these people to another planet and showed them all the war and the murder and killing that was going on, and that he asked them, why don't you intervene? And he said, because we aren't allowed to. He said, but soon, if this doesn't stop, because they were going to become extinct from killing each other so much, he said, soon we will have to before extinction sets in. But they aren't allowed to, so I imagine that's why they allow these wars to go on here.
Well, from what little my contact has told me over this last year, she's told me that, yes, they do have a non-intervention thing, but if the elite try to do what they're trying to do, they're already working. They can't use the nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are already off the border. They've shut down every time they come in here. That they will. The
only time they're allowed to intervene is if they are going to use nukes and it's going to destroy the planet, because they cannot allow the planet to be destroyed. Because if it does, if we do destroy this planet, it will destroy the universe, because the gravitational pull of everything will be thrown off.
Okay. All I know of what I was told is that, yes, they do have a non-intervention thing, but the elite are pushing them to a point that they have already intervened in one form or another and will intervene even further. That's all I can say.
Well, this information came through Dolores Cannon when she was doing past life regression with people, and she would take them and they would contact her through these people.
Well, the lady that hypnotized me, her name is Lori McDonald. She's she does the exact same thing out here in California. I'm quite sure around wherever she goes. She
and when
tries
she
to.
hypnotized you, what was revealed?
I haven't seen the show yet. It was too long to make a single 30-minute thing. They're going to split into 3 30-minute shows, and they are scheduled to be on in March on the Cosmic Cafe show. Eric Brown, he's the one that got me into that actually almost a year ago more. So they want me to do another session this coming Saturday. Not this one, but the next one afterwards. And from what little I remember, it just drained me. I remember something about her asking me to open a door. All I saw was a wormhole. And the wormhole was taking me along, kind of like Star Trek, just it was like zooming back left and right.
That's what they had for a stage for the Super Bowl game.
Yeah.
That was a wormhole that was swirling around underneath them.
And the contact, she's a Palladian. She's a 7th level F, I think she was. And she wouldn't let me get too close to her. She was at least 20 feet away from me. And I could clearly see she had blonde hair. She had a staff in her right hand, a white flowing gown or something. She had 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. I could see that her eyes were blue. How I could see that from 20 feet, I have no idea. They will not allow the elite to do what they're trying to do. That's all I know. It was interesting. I think I was under hypnosis for over an hour. That's what they put this film together. So she has me just do what your job is. I'm hearing that almost every day. So I'm trying to get on.
That's how I feel. I mean, people say, aren't you afraid and all this stuff that you find out. No, because I just know that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing.
Exactly. I spend like several hours at a time digging through all the people that post things. I'm hoping to listen to it right now because I repost it back up saying this show's going to be on real soon, and here's the numbers and stuff.
I sent you a copy of that article of the underground volcano that became active, and actually, this when they drove their boat through, it looked like a floating sand beach. They stopped and picked it up, and that's when they realized it was volcanic rock that was floating in the water. And so
pumice.
Pumice. That's what it was. So then they decided to, get out of that area. And when they got a safe distance away, they started hearing a rumbling. They actually took pictures. There are several pictures that I sent you where the volcano erupted. They're lucky it didn't erupt when they were right over it because it was erupting up in the sky really high.
Yeah, I bet. That was clearly not the place to be, and luckily they got out of it and they were able to save some of the stuff from it with no damage.
That's when they realized it was a volcano. They just thought, what's this floating rock coming along the ocean? So if you're ever out in the ocean and you see that, don't go riding your boat over top of it. But another thing I wanted to talk about tonight was today we had some earthquakes. We had one 5.5 out in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, but in the United States we had a 4-point in Wyoming, and we had a 3.7 in Utah.
Yes. Well,
in Idaho. I'm sorry, in Idaho. We had a 3.3 in Idaho. So, so the earthquakes are coming more inland, and they're getting deeper and more intense.
And that's also along the lines that the Hopi prophecies said happened just around the end of the third Hopi world, which was ended by water, Noah's flood. That the earth was just heaving and all over left and right. It was also showed up in the movie 2012 that the ground was heaving left and right. That the people, they had a hard time. Although the ancient account by Ippawur, he says the hills and stuff are falling down. The ground is ripping open, letting out weird smoke.
Did you see that massive crack that went through New Mexico?
Yes, I've been following that. Yes.
Did you also see that road out there in California where the mountain rose and the whole highway was all busted up?
Yes.
So we are seeing the earth change.
Yes, we are. They're trying to keep it quiet because no one wants anyone to panic. I do not tell my friends anything but do not panic. More people are killed because they panic.
Yeah.
Things are starting to get stronger, and stronger.
Well, what did they have down south? They had 14 tornadoes in one state, one in Texas, and there was like 4 in Florida. I mean, I can't even, altogether there was like 30 tornadoes in one day.
Right. Ippawur didn't describe tornadoes. It wasn't in his account. He described everything else in there. We're going to be, put it simply, we're going to have a rough ride. It's going to be very bumpy.
Well, did you read the article that I posted about the wave that just hit Hawaii, a 7-foot wave?
Yes.
That destroyed a bunch of homes. And then,
yes.
Do you think that would be on CNN or? So you're obviously right that they're trying to keep it as quiet as they can.
I did see it on Yahoo News. They mentioned it there. Yes, things are getting a little bit hairier day by day. And that's what I want to emphasize. Get a bug-out backpack. Any type of backpack. I've been posting several sites on my Facebook page, Robert H. Evans, Jr. These backpacks are going at a decent price, about $40 for a decent backpack. Start preparing. You can use that for earthquakes. You can use it for tornadoes, for huge storms coming up the East Coast, snowstorms coming down from Canada. The prepared person has a better chance of surviving anything that goes towards them if they have stuff prepared for them. Backpack, sleeping bag, tent, the basics for keeping yourself safe. Knives, machetes. I'm not going to mention the other type. You already know what I'm talking about. Because you're going to have to carry it with you.
One of the things that I tell everybody that they need to buy is iodine tablets.
Exactly.
Because if these plants do have a meltdown, you're going to need to take iodine before they tell you, you better get some iodine. You have to have that in your system before it's irradiated, not a month after, And, the thing is, they're hard to find, but I did find them at a website called emergencyessentials.com. and they were like $20 for 2 weeks worth, and then they marked them down to $9.99. And this is another thing. This is another thing that I know why this is getting closer, because the emergency food suppliers are marking their stuff down dramatically now. I mean, I'm talking 50%. Now these iodine tablets, they went from $20 for 2 weeks worth to $7.99.
Right. And you don't think they're following everything else that's going around. They're following it. They know it. I'm starting to see more things on on Facebook for preparedness, for this, for emergency food, for emergency this, emergency that, emergency this. Anti-diarrhea tablets also. One of the biggest things you should always make sure is in that bug-out bag. Anti-diarrhea.
I tell everybody to get is that Chalet water bottle. They have a Chalet water bottle. I don't know if you can order it online. I know you can get it through the Jim Baker Show. That actually takes the radiation out of the water.
Interesting. I didn't know about that one.
It takes out any kind of contaminants, viruses, lead, any of that. Actually, they went down to Africa to minister to some of the people down there, and the water that was in this river that was posted, "Don't drink this water," and they actually filled their water bottles, their Chalet water bottles, and drank it. It purifies any kind of water. It also raises the pH to 9.5.
Okay. I have emergency water filters. I don't have that. You have to check that one out. My wife has
to JimBakerShow.com, and then it just put water bottle in, or water purification in the search engine. And he also has a pump. It's where you put the hose. You can put the hose in any kind. He said you can actually put that hose in a ditch and pump that water out pure.
Interesting.
And then, that was that they're selling right now. You can get 3 of them for $150, but one is $75, and then they sell replacement filters for $45.
Excellent. That's a good price. Here's one thing that Mother Shipton said that really threw her off everyone's track. And before the race is built anew, a silver serpent comes to view, and spew out men of like unknown to mingle with the earth now grown. Cold from its heat, and these men can enlighten the minds of future men, to intermingle and show them how to live and love and thus endow the children with the second sight. Some people say the second sight is magic, or it's also possibly those endowed of actually being able to see the future.
Prophecy.
Prophesize, yes. A natural thing, so they might grow graceful, humble, and when they do, the golden age will start anew. Several years back down in Australia, someone was digging around in the back part of the museum, and they came across a scroll, which was one of Mother Shipton's original scrolls. And luckily I caught it before it was pulled. Okay. Let's see, where this is the last part. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. Some people have been, where's the Antichrist and all this stuff? I know the Bible has had ancient stuff put into it. Nostradamus was born after Mother Shipton was born and died just after Mother Shipton died. So he had to have known her writings. So everyone's been looking through Nostradamus' stuff. Nostradamus was very clear in his
died before Mother Shipton. Mother
Shipton
died in 1996.
Well, Mother Shipton, it would have been too long to have read everything she said here. All the people that lived after the century, she was talking just like someone talking about a pole shift. She was talking about land rising out of the water, being very clean. There wasn't filthy from man doing what he did, and everything that man did was going below the water. That's tectonic plates going up and down. Okay? So she mentions that very clearly in her ancient stuff. Mother Shipton put this stuff out. Then another guy later on, I think during the 1600s, started to take credit for what she wrote. Now, either he was the original and he was a fantastic cleric that, again, told everything that's coming, or he was a fake, used Mother Shipton stuff because she had the original. She was very cleric, where she saw where things changed. One or the other. Anyone wants to read Mother Shipton, just go on to Google, type up Mother Shipton, go past the part where it says, and after the century turns, and just read it from there down. Talks about man hiding in these caves or fens in the mountains where all their food was, the ocean washing the shore clean, the below ocean water coming above ocean. They're living on this now nice, clean earth. I mean, come on. This ancient stuff, it blew me away when I originally started to see this, and I started to really research into what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
The other thing is, too, have you seen all the articles where California's losing all their beaches?
Yes.
You know, and then they're like, oh, we're going to try to put the sand back. And I'm sitting there thinking...
Well, that was San Francisco. At the end of Ocean Beach in San Francisco, the high waves, the heavy surf, had eroded a lot of the sand and put someplace else. They were trying to refix that because the San Francisco huge Ocean Beach draws a lot of tourists. Okay? I live down just south of San Francisco in Pacifica. Pacifica has just been losing all of its beach line here in Upper Pacifica. Pacifica is kind of like put into two parts. There's the Manor District, and then there's the Lindemar District. All the beaches here in the Manor District have been heavily eroded, where the cliffs are falling down. There were several big apartment houses up on Esplanade, and two of them were shut down in 2010 because the cliff was right up against their back doors.
Yeah, I saw that picture of those apartments where the dirt was right underneath it, was eroding underneath the building.
Exactly. I've gone down to that.
We have a guest that wants to ask a question, so let's...
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello, Arizona. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well, thank you, Badbaby.
Do you have a question, right?
Yes, I do. And I know that this is going to change the subject a little bit, but I live in Arizona, as Badbaby has just indicated, and I know a little bit about the Hopi people. I know that some of the Kachinas are very interesting. One of them has a star on its face, and there are several that are quite, they're just really interesting. I've always been fascinated by the Kachinas, and I'm wondering if they are part of this story too.
Yes and no. And thank you for bringing that question up. The Hopi say that the blue Kachina will bring the Star Brothers back to the earth. The Star Brothers will come down and they will dance in the plaza for everyone to see, not just the Hopi, but for everyone, including the white man, the Pohanas, that's what they call us. And they will unmask themselves. That's first contact. I'm sorry. No ifs, ands, or buts. But if the gods, if the Star Brothers have decided that the people have gone well off the track, then the red Kachina will come through and it will cleanse the planet Earth. Cleanse meaning a very strict cleaning. What does a pole shift do? It depopulates the planet Earth. It has depopulated before 3 times.
Wow. Okay.
You know, the Hopi Kachinas, their spirit type, as far as I understand, I've been trying to read up on the Hopi prophecies. I will not step over that line with them where I'm insulting them that I know what a Kachina is. I do not know what they are. I just know that the blue star, which, by the way, has been seen several times in the Earth's skies since 2015. I've got the photographs.
Yeah.
Okay?
I thought
I don't
that the
know.
blue and red Kachina were the moons that are
No.
orbiting around Planet X.
Well, again, we're kind of mixing up different terms here. Nibiru orbits between Jupiter and Mars. Planet X is this moon, these moons we're seeing now that come in very close to the Earth. Nibiru cannot come in that close, otherwise our solar system has gone to heck without the handbasket. The brown dwarf star we call Nemesis cannot enter our solar system because our solar system would be ruined. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nemesis has 6 planets. 1 dwarf planet, Sedna. We're seeing the moons of Nibiru. These moons have a huge orbit away from Nibiru. Because we have Mars in between us and Nibiru.
Mm-hmm.
And yet these things are that far out. But then again, anyone who goes on to an astronomy program looks at our solar system and then clicks on the dwarf planets and clicks on Sedna and then backs way off. You see that it has a humongous circular orbit. And our solar system is way down in this other corner, which is exactly how it's portrayed in that video you can find on YouTube. It's a 45-minute video. Nemesis, our sun's evil twin. And that's exactly how it's portrayed in that video. This huge orbit of Sedna. Sedna is even mentioned in the video. And here's our solar system, little tiny solar system, way down in one corner of its orbit. That's because its orbit is higher than our ecliptic plane, about 35, 40 degrees. I used a program called Astro Viewer. When I saw that, it just, the the highness of the orbit of the Sedna, how far it goes below our ecliptic, goes way above our ecliptic in a humongous order, and here's our solar system in an exact match. These guys knew this stuff for a long time. That's why you have this long list of dead astronomers and dead people.
Robert, do you think that, I hear several different reasons why they won't tell us. One of them is that they, want as many people to die as, and the other is they don't want people to panic. But do you think that they're, not being honest about it because they don't want people to move away from the coast?
They want depopulation. I'm sorry. We have over 7 billion people on this planet.
Yeah, I know they want depopulation. And, the thing that gets me is I've had Dr. Betty Martini on the show before talking about the aspartame. And we know that they put a lot of poison in our food to poison people and make them sick so that they get ill and cancer and die early. But she had actually gone into, I think it was a gynecologist's office, and said, you've got to tell these women that when they're drinking diet pop that it deforms the fetus and causes all kind of illnesses, and it also causes miscarriages. And you know what his answer was to her? So what? One less person on the planet.
Almost sounds like Scrooge, doesn't he? Jeez. I mean,
Are there no jails?
Yeah.
Are there no workhouses?
Exactly. I mean, the interesting thing here is that the elite who want to go hide down in their 2,000-foot deep underground military base are going to have to pop back up at some point. They must be already free of what's being put on us, because the chemtrails and putting tremendous amount of stuff in our air since early 2000.
Yeah.
I sent you
another thing too. There's going to be volcanic ash, so people should have respirators, or if you don't have a respirator, at least get the white mask to put over your face.
Exactly.
So, let's talk a little bit about survival tonight and things that people need to do to prepare. That's one of the things I tell people that they should have. And, another thing is Jim Baker says you should have plastic and duct tape to tape your windows up to seal them off.
Well, what I've been telling my friends for a while now on Facebook, I've been telling them to prepare as if you're going on a 6-month backpacking trip. As much as you can in a big backpack that you can carry. That's why I'm always putting these things on my Facebook page. Here's these backpacks. Because your cars will only be driven a little bit until the earthquakes level the bridges, tunnels, anything else, and then you're forced to walk.
Well, and I'll tell you another thing, too. There are so many people that are going to die that aren't going to be able to get their insulin or their blood pressure medicine.
Exactly.
You're not going to be able to walk into the store. And I'm already hearing reports of stores that are low on stocking things. And then there is a video up of the prepper that he went down to the shipping yard, and there were 2 boats where he says there's usually hundreds of boats. So the shipping industry has been down to nothing. And I also heard that a lot of the grocery warehouses aren't stocked like they're usually stocked. So they're getting ready to shut down the food.
I wouldn't be surprised. And like I said, everything I'm being told says that we will clearly see the destroyer, this big reddish mass in our sky somewhere between April, May, June. As to when a pole shift is happening, I do not know. I wish I did. I'm telling everyone to grab or, buy. And
one of the things Ed Dane said was that there was a big war going on, and that the soldiers looked up and saw the planet in the sky, and everybody just threw their guns down and went home.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know they're seeing it over in the Middle East because several of my friends are from Egypt and around the area, and they're the ones that are showing two suns in the skies. So I know they're seeing it. Florence, Italy, January 8th. Friend of mine over there, she's been seeing something that didn't look right on her misty, kind of dirty horizon. And she had the photograph retouched twice, refiltered. Then she had the image reversed. And here's this gigantic heat signature on the horizon. Because you can only see that when you either have an infrared camera or if you reverse the image. And if anyone was able to see that huge reddish mass on the sky, on the horizon, they'd all be, screaming, running for the hills. Dawn Hull up in Washington State. She has a very expensive infrared camera, and she's been photographing humongous heat signatures up in her skies.
Yeah, and she also gets harassed by the men in black.
Yes, she does.
And so do I. So, I wonder who the men in black really are.
Whether they are us or whether they're from the secret U.S. or world government, I have no idea. President Truman started that back after World War II ended. It tied the hands of President Eisenhower when he met with the three alien races in 1954. Tied his hands completely. He was going to go public on TV and on the radio about the aliens. He couldn't do it. 1955, he was angered because the Anunnaki told him they wouldn't give us advanced technology because we would almost destroy ourselves or damage their bases on their moon. They still considered the moon their property. The day after Roswell, by Colonel Philip Corso, from one of the aliens that survived, from one of the three ships that crashed in and around Roswell, New Mexico. They learned from that one alien that their bases were on the moon, and he was telling how the Pentagon was quietly working on having our own base up on the moon. Whether we went through with it, I have no idea. So, the Anunnaki, they came here. I know no one wants to listen to this. I'm sorry. Supposedly, they created humans. They created the first thing as a worker race, but it de-evolved too quickly back to like an ape or something. That's possibly Bigfoot or any of the other Bigfoot type creatures that are said to be living around the planet. The second time was with Enki and his half-sister, where they created Adam or Adama. Anyone who's read The Lost Book of Enki by Zecharia Sitchin should be able to pick up that there was a very strong racial difference between the Anunnaki and their created workers, us. Adam accidentally caught the attention of Anu, the king of Nibiru, and he wanted to see him. He said, send that thing up to me. I want to meet this person. The first intelligent being you created over there. But Enlil and Enki didn't want Adama to be that nice in front of Anu. So they told him very secretly not to mention anything. Do not drink anything on the planet Nibiru or you'll be dead. Do not eat anything that the king offers to you or you'll be dead. So when he went there, he met them. They liked him. They saw he was an intelligent being, but he turned down the food and the water, the liquor, the water stuff, because they didn't want the humans to be on the same level with them. I picked up the racial hatred, whatever you want to call it, very clearly. And they kind of left us like that. When down on Earth, the Anunnaki walked around, they wanted this nice-looking human. Okay, they had sex with her and she gave them kids. The Aiji, who were the Anunnaki who lived up on Mars, were getting very ticked off about the Anunnaki on Earth having human wives. So they came down during a ceremony for Anu, and they took 200 human females right out of the book of Enoch. No ifs, ands, or buts. They threatened if they couldn't have the humans, they would do something. Anu gave in. That's when the flood was coming. Enlil was very happy. He was going to be getting rid of those idiots. He was getting rid of the humans. He was tired of the humans anyway. You know, these little pesky humans are making too much noise here. They're causing me too much problems. Enki saved several large groups of humans. And they told the other Anunnaki on the planet to get to the top of the high mountains and survive. And that's what happened in the movie 2012. All of the Indians, as the wave was coming up, they were trying their best to run as high as they could. That 1535-meter wave came in. 1535-meter wave. The movie 2012 was the last leaked information from NASA. From the Hollywood, sorry. Independence Day 4 was the first leaked about the president being out of the loop of the aliens. Deep Impact had a black U.S. president outing the deep underground military bases, and only a certain amount of people would go in there. Everyone else was on their own. Battle LA talked about aliens living on what looked like asteroids coming down in the oceans. That was linked back with Comet Ellen, which was not a comet. I'm sorry, I forgot. I did not send you those photographs. And then 2012 talked about pole shift, Earth crustal displacement. It's a theory, but because it's a theory that seems to line up with too many ancient things, how they viewed what happened, it's going to happen. The Hopi said that at the end of the third Hopi world, that the Earth's rotation was reversed. Their prophecy for the end of the fourth world is to have the Earth's rotation reversed back to where it used to rotate the right way.
Now,
how did the
rotation reverses, this is when it slows down, and we get the 3 days of darkness, isn't it?
Well, much more than that. When the Earth's rotation slows down, all the water that's out at the equator is a huge bump all the way around our planet from our Earth spinning as it does. The water settles back down around the planet where it's even depth all around. Noah's flood, and also the winds don't stop. The winds keep going. So the winds are going to have a howling, screaming amount of heat all around the planet. That was mentioned in the Colburn's version of the building of the ark, wherein the ark set off because of the flood. They felt intense heat and intense cold. The intense cold is when everything had to go back the other way, and now it's cold, and then suddenly it starts warming back up. As the oceans go back out to where they should be, the mountains come back out from underneath the water, blah, 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 blah. It's mentioned in 2 books of within the last, I think 1990s, the last one, the time the Earth nearly died and Cosmic Catastrophe by these 2 English authors. And it's a very thick book, very thin pages. And they mentioned how they found all these, what they call tills of animal, plant debris way up in the hills in caves. Now, how in the heck did it get way up on the hills when it only does that if water was that high and had dumped it all in there? And they go into great detail all around the planet, discovering these ancient tills, ancient forests all buried under 30 to 60 feet of mud. All this stuff, and they've been able to date it back almost to about 12,500 years. And scientists, they keep saying that something happened about 12,900 years ago where something hit or happened over North America and Canada, wiping out the early man and all the huge carnivores, the saber-toothed tiger, the cave bear, the mammoths. And mankind didn't show up in the records till another 3,000 years later, or 300 years later, I forget which was now. So we know something happened then. But everyone's saying, that didn't happen. Yes, it did happen. No, it didn't. Nah, blah, blah, blah. It makes you wonder, how much did Eisenhower find out from the Anunnaki? Because he was told what was coming. Pope John Paul II was very clear in his thing back in 1980 with the third secret of Fatima. He wouldn't talk about the third secret, but what if it was in writing that the oceans would cover all the continents, killing millions within minutes? Why talk about it? That's
so
from
they do have that orb in the town square there at the Vatican that shows a rock smashing into it, and they got the same thing in front of the UN.
It makes you wonder why. What is all this weird stuff? Then I think over there in Paris, France. Is that Paris, France?
I saw a video today where I never saw this, but there is an actual, that statue of Baphomet. They actually have a huge one in the Vatican City. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. When I find, I'll pull the video up and send it to you. Yes, it's huge. Like, how when you go up to the Lincoln Monument, you see Lincoln up there? That's how big this statue is. And it's of Baphomet in Vatican City, and and it looks like it's made of gold.
It might be. You want something nice there. The Saint Malachi, for any of your listeners who know about ancient prophecies, Malachi was an archbishop in Ireland, I think. He went to Rome during the 1100s, and when he got there, he had visions of 112 popes. They wrote down what each vision said for each pope, and he's like 110%. Pope number 111 would be from the Benedictine order. His name was Pope Benedict. Pope 112, he names him as called Peter the Roman. I don't know whether that fits Pope Francis or not. But after Pope Benedict retired, the first pope to retire in 600 years, for whatever reason, I've heard of a whole bunch of different reasons why he was forced to retire. He jumped on one or more German radio shows and was blasting the Jesuits for their alien agenda. Their alien agenda. I've not been able to find anything like a transcript what he talked about. I know of 2 articles only. Pope Francis is a Jesuit. The Jesuits were put in charge of the Secret Service of the Vatican after the 1955 meeting of Pope Pius XII and the Anunnaki. The next pope, I can't remember his name right now, he also was interested in the Anunnaki and kept a little tiny bit with it, but then he told the Jesuits, okay, you take care of them. I really don't feel comfortable meeting with them. So he kind of distanced himself after that. The Vatican has known about this for a long time. That's why they set out a Jesuit priest, a high-ranking Jesuit priest in early 2000 to talk to an Italian reporter, Mr. Barbato. He told his friend, Mr. Lucas Scantamburlo, who did a 2008 video with them called The Return of Planet X. And that just leaked all kinds of stuff. But like you say, almost everyone, they go home, they sit down, they're tired, they're talking to the wife or they're talking to the husband, they're playing with the kids, they're trying to get some food in their tummy. They just want to sit down and listen to TV. They don't want to listen to all this other weird stuff. That's why they had better...
90% of the people aren't going to pay attention until it actually happens. And that's why there's going to be such a great loss of life.
And I understand that.
And there are going to be survival groups, I think. But
there will be.
They're going to have to be healthy and strong people.
Because they'll be kicked back to it at the minimum the 1800s. No electricity, no running water. They'll all be catch as catch can.
And there's other things to do too, like make sure you have extra blankets. Make sure you have extra clothing, extra coats. If you, make sure that you're going to be able to help others if they come to you.
Well, you see, the problem there is this. As soon as other people find out you've got stuff, they're going to take it or try to take it. Say you have a real nice little bunker built for yourself, okay?
Well,
and you've got all these...
What if you're in a bug-out situation and you come across a hurt child? Are you going to leave that child there?
No. But then again, you might have to. But then again, you might have to. Because you're only going to be able to carry enough stuff for you you and your wife, you and your family, and you probably won't have enough to hand out to everyone else or this one hurt child. Maybe you would take the kid with you. Maybe you won't. You see, when you're on your own in this type of thing, suddenly all the regular plans fall out the window. You have to survive yourself. And hopefully, you can help that one child. Or maybe this other hurt person you stumble across. See, I grew up here in the 1960s. I grew up watching every disaster film, whether it was A, B, C, or D labeled. Into the 70s, I grew up on all the disaster films. And almost every disaster film showed here's the survivors or a survivor, and here's the evil people, or here's the people that don't have anything, and they're going to destroy that last person to get that last crumb of food he has or she has. Humankind can be one of the worst animals on record and has been one of the worst animals on record too many times. There will be gangs. They'll be roaming everywhere, taking what they want. And that's it. One of the real good films I remember was called The Ravengers, where this huge gang finally caught up with this. It was a tanker full of gasoline that had set into this one area, and a couple of ships, and it was a thriving community of survivors. And the Ravengers showed up, and they had to fight them off. And the tanker goes kaboom, and, that's the only thing that supplied power for this one area. And it's the same basic stuff we saw during Katrina. That's also been put down so many times by Native Americans who say this is what's going to happen.
Well, one of the things Al Cuppett said about Katrina was that was a HAARP-driven storm, and the reason they did it is because it was a training op for when disaster like this did happen. That's why they wouldn't let people leave the city or that Superdome. And there were some people that called in on my show back then and said that they were trying to walk across the bridge that they could get out of the city, but there were National Guard there, and they put guns on them and said, go back or we'll shoot you, because they wanted to keep them trapped in there so that they could do this training situation on them. And that's another reason why the soldiers were kicking doors in and taking guns.
I wouldn't be surprised. Everyone thought the Japanese took us completely by surprise. Nope. Roosevelt knew about them. That's why we sent a squadron of cruisers over in Japanese waters, hoping it would provoke them. They were following Japanese carriers all the way across. Roosevelt wanted us into World War II, and he was going to take whatever steps he could, because England was going to go bloop, and Roosevelt and Churchill were old friends. Several cargo ships came into San Francisco, and their logs were all copied or snagged by government officials. The people running the wireless sets were mentioning that the Japanese kept using a higher and higher and higher and higher frequency as steps, and they were not noting it down as they normally would. Japanese had to use a higher and higher and higher signal, because that way they stayed in communications with Japan way over there. So to say that it was a setup, it's a good possibility. It really is. 9/11. Everyone says that was a setup. I remember watching it that one morning. I didn't think it was a setup myself because I watched it. The radio turned on. I immediately slammed on the TV, and I watched the second plane go into the other. But then there's that one building went down completely on its own. Was it a setup? I don't know.
Well,
Are they capable?
Are they about that where it actually shows the plane flying. When it's flying, they slow the film down, and the wing goes behind the building. It was a hologram.
Then someone knows how to do it. It wasn't me.
Absolutely, the government knows how to do that. And
yeah.
then I think the towers were, the charges were put in the towers 2 weeks before the towers were brought down. And the person that was in charge of security for the towers was George Bush's nephew.
Well, I can't mention anything on that because I don't know. I've heard, I've seen
I've done
various...
a lot of shows on it and research on it.
Yeah.
So
I've
it
seen
was an inside job, and it was done on a satanic sacrificial day, and it also was done to start taking our freedom and our privacy away. It's
That's
part
possible.
Of their tactic to make the United States people go. Plus, they wanted to get into a war.
Yeah, everything, and I've heard various rumors that the UN, we're going to be it's going to be a new world order after the dust settles, and I can almost understand that because you have to have a one world government for these aliens to be dealing with. They don't want to just deal with Russia, United States, England, Chile. It's just like the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. One would be against the other because the aliens gave one something but not the other something. So it's about time we wound up with a one world government, and I can understand why. But the way they're going about it, I can think of other ways. This one thing is coming through. It's on a cycle. There's no way to stop it. And they're taking advantage of it. Just like the Anunnaki did, thinking they were getting rid of all the humans during Noah's flood because it would wash the earth clean. But Enki went all on. He didn't want his son, Sudra, which is the other name for Noah, to be killed. So he stepped out of order, allowing the humans to live, and that's why we're here now. Now we've really gone overboard with 7 billion humans or more, and someone says that planet can't hold that many people. Not enough air, not enough food, not enough anything. So depopulation comes. Georgia Guidestones, 1979, 1980. On down the row. Up until these moons now being seen in our skies. I know I've seen at least 4 moons. I've got the photographs to show it. I sent you most of the photographs. I have a huge amount of photographs from 2015 into now. These things are real. People are seeing huge, looking like planets or moons in their sky, but they can't see clearly what it is. It looks like it's a big, bluish ball with, like someone put an eraser over it. You can see the ball, but you can't see any detail. I sent you those photographs. People are seeing this stuff in their skies. Is it from is it the chemtrails hiding it, or is it a cloaking shield being put over or around something? I have no idea. I know they put huge space probes around our sun over 10 years ago. They're controlling the volcanic activity, the earthquake activity, because our sun does all that. But now we're getting so close to these moons, these planets, whatever they are, that these things cannot counteract what is starting to show up on the planet. Earthquakes, volcanoes, huge waves, like you said, the ones that slammed into Hawaii recently. They came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But then again,
I feel like it will get worse. I mean, we are going to go through more.
Okay, hold on 1 second. We've been seeing more and more asteroids exploding in the atmosphere above areas.
Yep.
More and more. One just passed over Pacifica the other day.
Yep.
About a week ago. I saw it. It just went suddenly. It was bright blue. It was racing south down the California coast, and I was told later on that it exploded over Chile in the atmosphere. Now, other people around the world are seeing this more and more and more and more. I was told we will go through Nibiru's tail. That's going to have a tremendous amount of junk, space debris. Ippur, during the Exodus, rocks were falling out of the sky, destroying all of the buildings, including the main palace that Pharaoh had. But he wasn't an Egyptian Pharaoh. He was a Hyksos Pharaoh. They still used the same terms. The Hyksos were kicked out of Egypt during the Exodus. And the person that led them out of Egypt was a priest prince from the inner courtyard of Pharaoh. Akhmos in Hebrew means brother of Moses. So that backs up the Bible, backs up the Israel. No one wants to talk about it, but that's the last time this thing came through. And that's why all the ancient history has been cleaned up along that side. Otherwise, we wouldn't understand why the deep underground military vaults were built for. We wouldn't understand why these huge emergency seed vaults were built all around the planet. Why do they need this stuff for? Well, last time it came through, it burned everything that grew. Nothing survived. No orchard, no fields, no vine goods. Everything was burned. The growing seasons changed. Now, I know a bunch of people are starting to talk about, and I'm going to get this real fast, that maybe something's going to hit the earth. Twice the destroyer has struck earth, and 3 times the heavens have opened and shut. Twice the land has been swept clean by water. That's the last part of Ippur's part I have, is account. Now, what did he mean that the earth had been struck twice? He didn't detail, but it did happen. Now, the Colburn also says we used to have 2 moons. Now, several years ago, the scientists were saying that we might have had 2 moons. One of the moons was ripped away by the destroyer as it went through. So is that real? Is that not? I don't know. But when I heard this one account on the news and stuff, and I didn't save it, that they thought we might have had 2 moons. Colburn mentions 2 moons. All I'm telling is I'm told very clearly by my contact that people are to prepare as quickly as possible. Because only when they're prepared will they have a chance to survive. Backpacks, sleeping bags, tents, emergency food, emergency medical supplies. That's the only thing that's going to help you. I have the same things. My wife went nuts for a couple. Why are you spending all this money? Well, we just got finished researching all this. We've been showing this for years. I can't drive everywhere once this thing starts. You better be prepared to have good hiking shoes because you're going to be on foot. You're going to have solar chargers to recharge the batteries you have. You're going to have hand-cranked lanterns to charge up the lantern so you can see for about an hour each time. Then have to crank it back up because batteries are going to be short supply, if not gone. We have stuff like that. I've been trying to think.
Watch survival tapes. I watched for the last couple of years. I've been watching Survivor Man, and I've been
watching. So have I.
On the Weather Channel, what's it, Fat Guys in the Woods, where it shows how they can survive. Those are good shows to watch. You learn a lot of
exactly
little tips for surviving.
Right. One of the interesting things that we have up in the mountains is pine trees, pine cones, and all that. Those nice little prickly type sticks that hang out on it. You can boil those and make a tea. It's heavy in vitamin C.
Yep, I saw them do that on Fat Guys in the Woods.
Now, there's another thing.
The needles are out of it, you know.
Yeah, the needles. Now, the other thing is every human has to have a certain amount of salt every day. Otherwise, you can't sweat. No salt, no sweat, you burn up, you die. That's why over in the Middle East they sell slabs of salt. That's where we got the salary term, because they used to give the Roman soldiers a certain amount of salt as salary. And then they would trade it for other things, because every human has to have at least a good pinch of salt in your hand every day, especially if you're doing gardening or walking or anything. No one talks about that.
That's true. You know, even if you just buy a salt block, a couple of those that they have for the deer, the wild animals, there's salt in that.
Yeah, because farmers have to leave a salt lick out in their pastures for the cows to lick, the animals to lick, because otherwise they'd be getting it normally from grazing the land in a huge area. But that's to make sure they get the proper amount of salt. Humans have to have that same amount of salt every day. So they have to start preparing to have a lot of salt. I personally like sea salt because it has minerals still in it, where regular salt from the ground, although it's good, it doesn't have the minerals from sea salt. You're going to have water. Yeah. So
it's not that expensive to stock up on salt. It really isn't. You know, and that's another thing. You know, they're selling all that food on the Jim Baker show. They actually sell a 5-gallon bucket of salt there.
Mm.
And all the food that he sells has a 25-year shelf life.
That's assuming that your bunker doesn't get flooded, because the oceans are coming in quite a bit. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, before he died in 1945, he started talking about pole shift. No BS, pole shift. He had a map drawn up of what the United States would look like after this coming pole shift. Most of the entire West Coast is gone, except for major islands. The new western shoreline is up near Denver, where the ocean has come up near up through Mexico, up to the four corners where the states mix up right there. About 20-something years ago, when high-ranking military officials were retiring, they were given a very strict briefing. They were told what was coming. They were given a map. They were not supposed to leak the map. But the map has been leaked so many times. They were also told to get above 4,000 feet. Because they know this thing's coming. That map has been leaked so many different times. Edgar Casey's map matches it almost exactly. Out here in California, Lake Tahoe will be a huge island. Bunch of huge islands going up the entire west coast. I don't know what this thing is going to do. Mother Shipton said that this thing causes the seafloor to rise above the ocean, now nice and clean, and humans are living on that, and all their filthy land is now below the water. How could she talk about that stuff? Yeah, I don't.
Some of her prophecies are amazing.
They are, and they have been. But everything from the century turning means for us. So between Mother Shipton, Nostradamus, a whole bunch of other different prophets had their things coming up, which didn't happen. You better be prepared. That's what I'm telling everyone.
Yeah.
Get prepared. At least if you're prepared, you yourself, your girlfriend, your wife, your family, there's a good chance. Because my contact says it is not going to be as hard as the last time. That's what she keeps mentioning once in a while. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't
why they're locking down the food chain, because they want devastation. I mean, they want the people who don't survive to starve.
Yeah. You know, and they're going to have people to rebuild stuff. That's where the FEMA camps come in. All the survivors will be picked up by the black helicopters. It's called the hiding times. They're put into the FEMA camps. I don't think they're going to get a nice salary for doing the work. I don't think so. They built those FEMA camps clear across the United States. Some of them are now seeing there's a bunch of them up into Canada and several down by Florida.
All the way around the world.
They probably are.
UK tell me about them. I've had people in Europe tell me about them.
Each country
has
their own way of doing it with their surviving population. Okay? They're going to survive. The New World Order says whomever has the highest military that survives will be in charge. Whether it's China, us, we've been hiding M1 Abrams battle tanks up in caves in Norway for years now.
Well, you know what their logo is? Order out of chaos, and this will be chaos.
China built many massive cities down in Africa, which appears to be abandoned. They're not abandoned. People are being kept out of them. They built several cities up in Mongolia. Same reason.
Yep.
In the movie 2012.
We've done our 2 hours tonight. Actually, we've got a little bit over.
Yeah, 226. Yeah. You know, they want a certain new world order to happen. I am more concerned with us surviving. That's why I'm telling everyone to put together your bug-out packs so you're ready. This thing's coming faster than everyone thinks it's coming. It should be clearly in our skies somewhere around April, May, or June. I'm seeing it in our skies now, but it's not large enough for me to be really worried. But I am getting worried. And I want me and my wife to survive, as any of your listeners want them to survive. You're only going to survive by being prepared. No time for panic. There's just absolutely no time for panic. Be prepared.
Well, my advice is be prepared and get yourself prepared spiritually.
Yes.
And just whatever happens, fate's in the hands of the Maker. No one knows when their time's up. So, whether you leave or stay, it's up to whether your name's in the book.
That's it. When the man upstairs says your time is up, your time's up.
That's it. Well, I want to thank you, Robert, for coming on tonight. Very interesting discussion.
Thank you for having me back, and it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe in a few months, if nothing's going on, we'll have you come back.
I would like to come back and tell I was wrong, because I will. If that happens and nothing happens, I will tell you I was wrong. That I had done wrong researching for years. But yes,
unfortunately, when we look up and we see these pictures, it doesn't look to be that way.
Not from what I'm seeing, no. I'm told something will happen.
Oh, we lost him. Well, that's interesting. Huh. He got knocked right out of the room. Arizona, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
It just said he hung up. And he was in the middle of talking, so that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. He got knocked off. He was about to say something pretty important, too, I think.
I think so. I'd like to see if he calls back, so let's give him a minute in case he does call back, and because I think he was about to say something that they didn't want him to say. I do want to let everyone know that at the beginning of the show, I started out my bumper song, and he beeped in, and I had to answer. He was having problems calling in, and I had to verify the numbers with him again. And so there is a slight dead air for probably a minute or two at the beginning, and then I pick up the bumper song again. So, yeah, we've had some strange activity tonight, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Anything in the chat interesting?
Oh, we had a few people say good discussion, and I did post a couple of the links for the water bottles, and I don't remember. I think I put a link up too with that picture verifying the hologram for 9/11, that the one plane is a hologram. But anyways, I think that we did lose him for the night, so I am going to thank everybody for joining me.